Well, I bet you thought this day would never come.
I don't know. Are we really on the day we say we are?
No, we're not doing very well keeping up to a schedule.
I am wearing blue after all. Doesn't that mean time is going backwards?
Well, you're part of the blue team.
I'm inverted.
I guess I'm the red team.
You're going forward.
I'm going forward. Is that it?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk all about that. And it doesn't really matter. I mean, at the end of the day...
It really doesn't matter.
Does it matter? I don't think it does. I mean, that's just me. You never know. Well, here it is. Tenet, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gentle beings, kind souls from across the 28 known galaxies. Oh, it's from 2012. I guess we're missing that extra zero. I don't know what to say.
You said 2020 instead of 2021.
I know. There it was. Because you just never know. Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, Robert Meyer Burnett, your viceroy of verisimilitude, your master of fun and wonder, your sommelier of cinema. It is a new year, according to, well, it's 2021, not 22, whatever that was supposed to be.
You put 2020.
No, there was no one on the end. It was just 22.
I saw 2020.
No, wasn't there. Anyway, either way, that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about time and relative dimensions in space.
Yes,
oh, wait, that's a different show. Anyway, it could be like that. There really isn't any time travel in this movie, to be honest.
That's true. When you enter the inverter thing, you go backwards.
I mean, but you're not traveling through time. You're not going from like one point in time back to another point in time. You have to.
But you kind of are. I don't know. I mean,
let's get into it. Let's get into it. First of all, before we go any further, especially for this movie, time to get a little liquored up.
Yeah.
We drink wine in this show.
I'm confused. We didn't even introduce ourselves, or is that coming later?
No, I introduced myself and I said, "Who might you be?"
You did. You went through all your names?
No, I did. I went through some names, but I didn't. Who are you?
It's because I'm moving backwards in time.
Either way, maybe you forgot who you were.
I'm the ace.
No, tell the folks at home. Who are you?
I'm Elysabeth Gwendolyn Belle, the ace, the arbiter of cinematic excellence, and the enchantress of entertainment.
Well, and welcome to Elizabeth's episode number 108, Tenet, directed by Christopher. Did I say Tenet? It's Tenet.
Tenet.
Not Tenant. Tenet's a different movie directed by Roman Polanski, which we should do because I recently got it on Blu-ray. Tenet.
Yeah.
Tenet.
Yes.
Tenet. Not Tenant. It took me a while. Apparently I haven't got that right either. But anyway, we're here. It's a movie from 2020. It was delayed, and it finally came out. We didn't see it because we were locked down in a pandemic. We're still locked down in a pandemic. You still can't go to movie theaters. But the Blu-ray finally came out. I got the 4K Steelbook.
Whoopee.
What do you mean, whoopee?
It's not like we're ever going to watch this movie ever again.
Oh, I'm going to watch this movie again. I puzzle over this movie. I watched more YouTube videos about this movie than I've watched this movie.
That's a problem.
Well, it is a problem, but you know it's not a problem? Wine, which we have right here.
Wine is not a problem.
Wine is not a problem. And I would say it's time to get some wine, don't you think?
I think
Let's change the camera. So what are we drinking tonight? We are drinking a, what is this? A Frey? Frey. This is like the comic that Joss Whedon drew. This is an organic, or wrote. This is an organic red. Frey, organic red. Why don't you give it to me so I can pour it up? Are you sure we didn't pregame? Because it sure feels...
Where's that whiskey? Do you still have some?
No.
You drank all the whiskey?
Well...
I could have used some whiskey today.
Would you?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. So, first of all, I think the question, as we try this, let's try this wine. Cheers to Tenet. Cheers to Christopher Nolan. Smells mighty fine. Delightful.
It's very floral.
It's very floral. Now,
which I like.
Now let's talk about we have done other Christopher Nolan movies.
We have.
We've done Memento.
Loved it.
We've done Inception.
Loved it.
And I had, as Dieter Bastian would say, I recently got a Schnäppchen. I bought this from Zavi. These are all of Nolan's movies up through Tenet. This doesn't include Tenet in 4K. I never purchased this set before, but I got it for half off.
Nice.
Half
That's
off.
A great Schnäppchen.
It's a great Schnäppchen. And that would be The Prestige through Dunkirk.
Oh my God. Writer B.L. Alley wrote upside down. It's blowing my mind. How did he do that?
Well, B.L.
It's
Alley,
inverted.
he's amazing.
No, that's really crazy.
Okay, well let's not pay attention to the chat right now. Well, let's talk about the movie. Now, first of all, we're Nolan fans.
Yes,
I love Inception. I love Batman Begins. I love The Dark Knight. I even, for all of its like goofiness, there's a lot about The Dark Knight Rises I really like. I liked Dunkirk. I did not like Interstellar.
Which one is that one? That's the one.
Matthew McConaughey, the world's ending, a lot of black holes and warped space-time.
I never saw it then.
Well, basically, yeah, well, we should... I don't want to say anything about the ending, but I think Christopher Nolan goes on different paths where he's in his own head. I think for the first time, first of all, there's no doubt he's a world-class filmmaker.
Yes.
The filmmaking in Tenet is impeccable. The use of the IMAX cameras, the settings, the locations, the clothes, the act. What do you mean? What do you?
Everything's beige.
Well, the world is beige.
There's no color in it. There's no like real color in it.
Well, there's not a lot of reds going on.
Well, there's red and blue.
Well, but that's it.
I don't know.
Maybe the reason is because when the red and the blue show up,
right. You need everything else to be bland.
Yes. Well, I think there's something to be said for that, because the idea of the red and the blue teams, your inverted team and your non-inverted team, but I think now, first of all, let's talk about the idea of this movie. I think explaining the plot's actually fairly simple. There's a dude who basically there's a doctor who went from the future, inverted herself maybe, and buried the 9 components of this inversion machine back in the past in irradiated areas of the Earth, so they wouldn't be found.
Yeah. Well, how did you get that information?
I looked it up.
Exactly.
No, yeah.
When you're watching the film, first of all, it starts off where
in Kiev at an opera house.
At an opera house, right? And they're going in to rescue someone to rescue someone, and it goes from there.
Yes. And first of all, I think this movie has gone too far. I think Christopher Nolan went a little too far up his own ass for this movie, because
hey, well, I was gonna say that. You took my line.
Okay, well, you say it then. Go ahead, please.
And I said this to you earlier. I think his head was shoved way up his ass for this movie. I mean, well, he was trying to be super clever and super intelligent, and I love heady movies. I love figuring things out, but this was beyond. And you're watching the movie, and the sound, the music is so goddamn loud. You cannot even hear. Okay, so this is a complicated movie, but you can't even hear the goddamn dialogue. That is so angering and frustrating for me. I don't care what movie it is. If I can't hear the dialogue, it pisses me off.
Well, I think that part of his technique that he has developed is, as the viceroy of verisimilitude, as I am, what he's trying to do is create a reality within his frame, not just within what you see, but what you hear as well. And I think his desire to do that was pushed too far in this movie, because movies are all made up. They're all a fabrication.
Yeah, but movies are made to be watched. And if I can't hear the dialogue and your movie is complicated already, then fuck you. Seriously. It's like, who are you making this movie for? If nobody can hear the dialogue, it's already hard to follow. You're trying to be super smart. So what's the point of making this?
Well, I think that that is a point to be made, and you certainly are not the only one who made the point. And I would ask that same question. Like, as somebody who works in post-production, who is a stickler about sound and hearing things, if someone is speaking in a movie, unless you're not supposed to be able to hear them, unless they're trying to create You know, it's like, stop. You know, it's something. In this movie, they make it so regular standard dialogue that you would be listening to in any other movie is, even if you can hear, a lot of people say, well, I don't have any trouble understanding the dialogue. Look,
bullshit.
There was a stylistic choice made in the making of this film that is undeniable, that makes the dialogue murky to hear, especially because a lot of the time, as we know, people that are wearing gas masks and are breathing, if they're,
you can't even see their lips when they're wearing the mask.
Well, because they're inverted, and you know how hard that would have been. How hard would it have been to make people speak backwards?
Well, no, you have to play it backwards.
Well, no, but I mean, if you're inverted and you're talking,
right?
You know, if you had people showing people's mouths that you'd have to teach, that would be a really difficult thing to do. And so there's a lot of issues while they were making this movie that there are choices that were made that I don't necessarily think were the best choices. I think they were wrong.
I felt frustrated from the start of this movie. And I wanted to like this movie because I love his other films. But I just, from the get-go.
Well, the real question that I have is, okay, when this movie drops you into the action, another great scene, really well directed when they're attacking this opera house. And you're left to sort of, you're dropped in and you're supposed to kind of figure out what's going on.
Right.
But in this case, you really don't know what's going on. Like, I've watched the opening scene in this movie. You don't know what's
going on all the way through this movie.
And you know well, that's, yes. And I think ultimately you can figure it out. It's not like the plot is that, the thing is, the plot itself is not really that complicated, but the way it's told
But it has all these plot holes, and then you have to watch the movie 4, 5, 6 times before you can even understand what is going on, unless you watch other people explain it. So then what is the point? Really? I have to have other people. I watched like 5 YouTube videos today about this movie. Why should I have to do that?
Well, and what?
And I'm an intelligent person.
Well,
and I love heady movies.
But what's interesting is all of those YouTube videos are explaining the central conceit of this movie, which is time inversion.
And I love time travel movies.
Well, I know, and I do too. But the funny thing about this movie's not about time travel.
Not really.
Because this movie,
well, kind of. It's in a loop.
No, well, that's the thing.
It's in a constant loop.
But time is immutable in this. You can't change, according to Tenet.
Well,
according to Tenet, you can't. I mean, you
can change it, but when you have the knowledge of what's going on, it is your goal to not let your past selves or past people know that you know what's going on. Otherwise, it'll change the future.
Well, yes. Or will it?
And then there was a rule where you can't touch yourself. You can't touch your past self. You can't touch yourself. Or else
I don't want to live in a world that has that rule.
Or else you'll disappear or you'll implode or something. But yet he ends up fighting himself. So what happened to that rule?
Well, look, my whole thing about this is that if time is inverted, does that mean that your brain, the thought processes in your brain, are they also going backwards?
Right.
I mean, it says...
Because if your breathing is going backwards, where you have to wear an oxygen mask, so that means all your functions are going backwards.
Well, that's the thing. If you start to break this movie down...
So how could you even think straight?
Well, that's a very good question. Because even if you're inverted, you're still going into your future. I mean, it's like when you go through the gateway.
Right.
And you're watching yourself, you know, when you come to the gate, when you go in, yourself comes out. So there's there's 2 of you and then there's 3 of you. And it gets to the point where the movie, the whole time inversion things becomes a little bit more interesting than the plot itself. You're sitting there trying to figure this out, going, "Oh,
yeah,
who's here and who's there and what?"
So
he was going, then he reinverted and he's back inverted
but you know
again,
what?
and you're
when you can't hear the dialogue, at some point you're like, I don't care. I don't care.
Well, I did find this movie less absorbing than it should have been. Like I
didn't care. I didn't care about the characters. I didn't care what happened. I didn't even care if the world ended. And that was like the evil guy. That's all he wanted. He wanted to end the world because he had cancer. What? What kind of stupidity is that? I don't know, Rob. I don't know.
Well, I mean, okay, why don't we concentrate on, I liked all the actors. I thought Robert Pattinson was great.
I liked the actors.
I liked John David Washington.
Yes, the actors were good. I liked
Kenneth Branagh.
I love Kenneth Branagh. He's one of my favorites.
And his cancer was driving him crazy. You know, he had, because where he worked, where he grew up.
I just think it's hilarious how they picked a really, really super tall woman, and the other main character is really, really short.
Well, that was interesting too. I mean, you're really. I did find even John David Washington's height distracting.
Yeah, right. He's like really, really short, and then she's like 6 something.
She's 6'3". But that shouldn't have any effect of.
No, I just thought it just distracted me.
Well, yeah. I mean, look. As I said, the film is gorgeous to look at. It's beautifully shot and all of this. But I did look. There was one other movie that I've seen. And it's coming out on Blu-ray, finally, called Primer. $30,000 movie about time travel. It's about real time travel.
Oh.
That it was one of the only movies I've ever seen where I was so enamored of it and so intrigued by it. I watched it when I was in Sydney, in Australia, and I watched it and then I watched it again right away because I was like, wow, did I get all of this? Like I needed to. And
do you have it?
No, well, I have the DVD, but it's coming out on Blu-ray. Arrow is putting it out, and this was kind of like that in the sense that, look, watching this movie was a joyous experience if you let it flow over you, but following this movie became needlessly maddening.
Yes,
and that's I found I had a really interesting experience. I've never felt that before. Like when I'm watching this movie, I'm like, why are you making this so complicated? It's really not that complicated. But yet, they're making it so complicated because he's just not showing you things to not show them.
Yeah.
And I had too many questions. I had too many questions about the inversion.
And people knowing what to do, even though there was no explanation or anything on what you're supposed to be doing, was like, really? Seriously? Oh, Tenet is just going to open doors for you.
Well, the people that knew, you know, the power.
And then he knew, like, when he goes to shore and he, the car drives up, a guy jumps out and he jumps in and he knows where to go. And then the professor who's explaining the bullets going backwards, she doesn't even tell him. She just, oh, well, you would have dropped it, but you never see him drop it. That's her explanation. It's going backwards because you would have dropped it anyway. Like, well, at what point did he drop it?
Well, also, again, gravity, if you're inverted, like you're inverted in time, you're moving through time, but what about space? Like the rest of the world is if you're going backwards, you're still subject to the forces of gravity. Like the forces of gravity in the world, they haven't changed. So if you're traveling back through time and we see
objects are traveling backwards.
Well, yes, but and they're still being affected by the forces, like something going through time. How is it that it can jump into your hand? Because that means that it's not.
Because at some point, what they're saying is, at some point you dropped it. That's what she said to him.
Why?
At some point, she said you dropped the bullet. When in reality you see it going back. But at what point did we ever see him drop the bullet?
Well, I think that's a good point. And when you drop the bullet, it's being it falls to the ground because it's being affected.
For it to be inverted, it has to have gone the other way in the first place.
Well, again, this is a problem I had. So, because you dropped the bullet, time's going backwards, but a bullet just doesn't.
Is going backwards.
A bullet is defying gravity, so it's defying the laws of physics because
but that's because it's going backwards in time.
I understand it's going backwards in time, but if it's going backwards in time, it's almost like they make the idea of time being on a loop, like a tape loop, where you can go back and you can go forward. That there's other things happening. It's not just time. You have space. You have physics, and you've got gravity. And with time, it was almost like...
Well, I think they were kind of trying to go for, like, if you rewind a VHS tape, like, things go backwards.
Right, I understand that things go backwards, but that means the whole universe is going backwards then. But they were saying objects have to be inverted. So if an object is inverted or a person is inverted... And that's something
they don't explain either. It's like just certain objects are inverted, but not... everything?
Well, that's the thing. If you invert an object to go back in time...
Yes, I was very frustrated and still very frustrated.
And the thing is, so you invert a bullet that's going back through time.
Yeah.
Why would an inverted bullet... Why, when it's going back through time, it's going back through this fixed, immutable time, as opposed to...
Well, because it's going back on the path that it came in the first
place.
Right,
but if I have a gun and it's full of bullets, okay? And let's say I've got a clip full of 6 bullets. And I shoot those 6 bullets into a wall. What if I only invert, when I have the shell casing, what if I only invert one of those shells? So only one of those bullets is inverted.
Right.
What about the other 6 that I've fired? So if I go bang, 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 bang.
But yes, you're showing that this doesn't make any sense. Because when they go back through the little time inverter machine... they're going backwards through time, but yet they're moving forwards. Yet, before they even figure this out, the bullets, only certain objects are going backwards?
Well...
in real time.
And the thing is, everything else, when something is inverted, everything else, according to the thing that's been inverted, is going to go back in time, like it's going to be an exact opposite reaction. But if you fire 6 bullets and only invert one of those bullets, and not all 6, when the one bullet comes back, it's not the same. It's different. So when you're getting inverted, that's what I didn't understand. If you invert one person or one object to go back through time, when you're inverted, everything that happened to you up to that point happens again.
Yes, but
the thing is,
it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Well, I mean, it does, I think the movie falls down if you really examine that. And I was asking myself the whole time, I'm like,
there's so many holes in the science. I'm not a scientist, but there were so many holes. And I'm the kind of person that, like, I want to know why things are happening. And if I can't figure that out, then it really is frustrating to me.
Okay, we get that. I understand that. But, I mean, there's a lot of movies that are impenetrable. 2001, for instance. I mean, I've never thought... I've always thought 2001 is pretty straightforward, what's going on. But a lot of people don't understand the cosmic trip and at the end, because Kubrick doesn't come out and state what's happening. This movie knows, it knows exactly what it's doing. This movie has time inversion. It's got it down to a science, and it's following its own logic.
Well, not really.
Well, I felt that the logic wasn't as well established.
It's not.
As it should have been. And I when I'm listening to your explanation of time inversion, I'm like, but wait a minute, what about this? Or what about that? The movie was losing me.
Plus, you couldn't hear the dialogue.
Yes, we know that. But I mean, the real question is that I find what's really interesting about authorship. This is clearly a Christopher Nolan movie, and the filmmaking on display. I mean, is amazing. The car chases when one car is inverted, and you've got two different Kenneth Branaghs and all this. You're fighting yourself and everything. I thought there was some amazing stuff that I'd never seen in a movie before, but it still gave me the impression that I'm just watching they shot this car doing one thing, and then they shot another car doing another thing, and they just comped these two pieces of tape together. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool, but it's not as cool as it should be.
And another thing, so they have these fight scenes, but you have to watch the fight scenes twice, all of them. One this way, one the other way. And it's like, okay, so we have to watch the same scenes over and over, one forwards, one backwards. And it got to the point where I was very annoyed.
Well, I can understand that because it's a challenging movie, and it's challenging.
I like challenging movies,
but it's challenging your normal perceptions
annoying.
of what.
Am I being too harsh?
Well, it's not that you're being too harsh. I think that there's more going on in this movie. I understand your concerns. I hear them. I've heard what you said, but there are other things in this movie I think we could admire, can't we?
Robert Pattinson. We can admire him.
He wears a scarf very well.
Yes,
Robert
he does.
Pattinson. No, I thought Robert Pattinson was great.
He was great.
But I mean, even to the point where they're pulling an art heist. The idea that, we need to crash a plane.
And first of all, okay, so she sells her husband a fake drawing, and that pisses him off when she didn't even know it was fake when she sold it to him. And that pisses him off, and so he holds that against her and threatens for her never to see her son, and that's how he's controlling her. Really? Really? Did that make any goddamn sense to you?
Well, not really, because then, and of course, her son is Robert Pattinson.
Right, but at no point do you ever figure that out, unless I checked out when that happened.
Well,
we learned from watching YouTube.
No, I mean,
YouTube.
I think it's
videos
I think it's pretty well
the movie.
insinuated at the end of the movie.
Because I guess by the end of the movie, I was like, okay, whatever.
But no, I mean, look, this is a world-class filmmaker making a visually sumptuous, well-acted, it's a very interesting movie. But I think at the end of the day, it becomes a thought exercise. Like when I feel that the for me, the thing about this movie that bothered me the most was I felt at the end it left me empty. I felt like I didn't learn anything from the mechanism. This whole inversion thing was supposed to. That's the only thing the movie has. Like right. I don't to the point where when your main character is called the protagonist, I couldn't help but think back. There is another book that I read called Snow Crash.
Yeah. Snow
Crash is one of my favorite science fiction novels. It was written by Neil Stephenson. It came out in 1990. The main character's name is Hiro, but he's Japanese. I think he's half Japanese. Hiro, Hiro Protagonist. So, I had that in my mind the whole time, and I'm like, Snow Crash, page for page, is one of the most imaginative books that I've ever read. Mm-hmm. Like, the opening scene is he's delivering pizzas in his rocket-powered skateboard, and he works for Uncle Enzo's Cosa Nostra pizza delivery. And from the opening, I was captivated. This movie, I felt it was needlessly murky the whole time, and when you get to the end of it, I didn't feel anything. And I'm watching this gorgeously, beautifully made film. It's impeccably acted. Everything about it in the filmmaking is designed. It's gorgeous. And when you get to the end of the movie, I felt winded, like I'd been running a marathon or something. And when I got to the end, I asked myself, why did I run this marathon? And I think that's a real problem.
That is a problem.
And I'm not saying that there's a lot of people that love this movie.
But do they really?
Well,
are they just pretending?
Well, I think when you get to the end of this movie and you feel moved by it, or you feel like I've learned, I think
this movie is not moving.
Well, that's what I found. I found it like he's already been accused of making cold films, but I found like I loved Inception.
Inception
and I was
amazing.
So engrossed, and at the end, it really. And that movie really got to me on an emotional level because of the relationship with his wife, conjuring up the dream image of Mal, his wife. And I felt there was such great sadness in Dom's character. This movie, because the protagonist, it was like, okay, he was tested, he was inducted.
First of all, he doesn't have a real name, and that's a problem.
Well, also,
you cannot connect with a character that does not have a name.
But he didn't have any real reason to be involved in this. Of course, we find out he basically founded the organization that he's been drawn into.
We find that out.
But even that, it's like the main character that we're following doesn't know that. You don't find that out. And so when you're watching this movie, I kept asking myself, why are you doing any of this? Because you've been told to do it? Like, you found out, like, ooh, there's inversion. Well, this is weird. I'm going to go do these things. And I just felt I wasn't emotionally invested in our protagonist.
No.
And I think that was a huge problem with the film.
Yes, it was a huge problem. And then there's all this focus on, what is the woman's character's name? Kat. And she, he could have played on the fact that she's trying to protect her son and be with her son. But you don't even meet the son. Like, you don't even
No, you see him from
you don't even form a bond with this child thinking, oh my God, she has to win because she has to be with her kid. There's no moment where you actually even hear him speak or anything.
No, I mean, I think that's a good point. And the fact that they make that a part of the emotional stakes of the film, it's a big part of the emotional stakes. And you don't...
And then at the end, they made her a not so intelligent character because she knows if she kills her husband, the world will end. And what does she do? She doesn't wait to know, like, if they have succeeded with the battle at the end. And she goes ahead and kills him anyway. That turned a character who was pretty intelligent into an idiot.
Well, also, the battle at the end, you kind of know. You've got two teams.
And then where did all those people come from? Where did all those people come from? How come they weren't helping all along?
Well,
where were they?
They were in the containers.
They were in the upside down?
Well, I mean, that's another thing. I mean, I that's another thing about this movie, that you are... There was just a lot of questions.
Yeah. Yeah, and here's the thing. This is the kind of movie, if you want to understand it, you have to watch it multiple times with subtitles on. Could you imagine if we had seen this in the theater? Do you see how frustrated I am after watching it with subtitles? Man, I would have been really pissed.
Well, no, I mean, I would really have liked to have seen this movie in IMAX, because if nothing else, it's gorgeous to look at.
No.
But I
would have been so mad.
I did find it needlessly convoluted. To the point where I love the idea of inversion, of time inversion. I love time travel. I couldn't enjoy it, though. You know, I kept, when I'm second guessing, I wanted to enjoy this movie and I loved the premise. I loved all of it, but I found the execution.
The premise was good. It was
needfully
he's trying
obtuse.
To be too clever about it.
Yeah, right. And I didn't understand. I'm like, why are you doing it this way?
Yeah. I mean, we know he's a smart guy. We know this. He has proved it. Why did he have to make this so needlessly hard to understand?
Well, I mean, a lot of people will tell you that it wasn't hard to understand.
Yeah, they're lying. They are lying.
Whoa.
They probably watched it 5 or 6 times. And then once somebody got it, they made a YouTube video and everybody started discussing it and figuring out.
Well, what's really interesting is how many movies inspire so many YouTube videos where all these people feel the need, like, let me sit down and explain this movie to you. There has been a lot. I mean, maybe there was YouTube videos about Inception, but this movie inspired, like, you can go to Tenet Explained. But in Inception,
like, you know what's going on.
Well, yes.
You understand what's happening. Even though it's layered and you have to figure it out, you have to think deeply, you still know what's happening and you actually care about what's happening.
Well, it's like when you meet the doctor, she should take you and go, hey, look at this machine. Allow me to show you. You stand here and I'm going to walk into this machine and you're going to watch me.
Yeah.
You know what? Well, show me that. And as she's explaining,
she tells him, don't think too deeply about it. You don't need to understand how it works.
Right.
What the fuck kind of scientist are you? You don't need to understand how it works? What? What kind of answer is that? Didn't that make you mad?
Well, I found it again. I just found it strange that in a movie like this, like even when you're explaining your MacGuffin or whatever, usually you have somebody explain this, so you're like, oh, to give you this thing. So this doctor really didn't explain it. She goes, no, think of it, the bullet's coming back into the gun. What? Like, even if you're going back through time.
Could you imagine experiencing that? You shoot a gun and it comes back in. Wouldn't you want to know how that works?
Well, also, there's a chemical reaction that causes a bullet to be fired. So if you're going back through time, what about that chemical reaction? Like, what's happening
Plus,
there?
what about your other senses? So wait, when he walked in the room, did he smell gunfire?
Well, also that, how do you see? If you're inverted and
But
light,
he's not inverted, it's just the bullets.
No, but if you are inverted as a person, if you're one of these people that are inverted, you see because light is coming into your eyes. So if you're inverted and you
Does that mean light is coming out of your eyes?
You can't breathe.
Ooh.
Can you see?
If light's coming out of your eyes, are you like raised by wolves?
Well, come on now. But seriously, that's a question I have. They make breathing an issue, but sight isn't?
Yeah, that's silly.
Because, when if you
And what about your heart, your blood pumping? Would it go the other direction?
Does your heart beat backwards? I mean these are things that are, I think they are legitimate questions to ask about this process. Because if you're existing, if you're a living being going backwards, and you have these bodily processes where everything we see is light coming into our eyes.
Plus they're moving forward, but their speech is backwards. It doesn't make sense.
Well, that's another thing. I think that there's a lot of the same logic problems that I had with The Dark Knight Rises, I had with this movie. And I think that Christopher Nolan just sometimes isn't concerned with that. And the same was true.
It all makes sense to him in his head.
Well, the same was true of Interstellar. I had a real problem. Interstellar, I was so looking forward to it. And I had read Jonathan Nolan's original script that Steven Spielberg was going to direct. And I found that the end of that movie to be baffling to me. I mean, I understand love. You've turned love into a dimension. That's an interesting idea. But I thought the execution didn't live up to the rest of what he was doing. And like with this movie, I don't want to be thinking about, oh, you're inverted. I don't want to be thinking about how do you see, because they make it so breathing doesn't work.
Right.
And then
just breathing though. Everything else is fine.
That's the thing. I mean, how is breathing affected, but the rest of your bodily functions not? And that's what I'm like, again, I think the sight issue is a big deal. Because if you're going back through time, if you're going backwards, all of the light imagery that you're seeing is moving away from you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we can belabor this point. So I would say that for me, I really enjoyed the experience of watching Tenet. Not Tenet. 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 I keep saying.
So you enjoyed watching it?
Well, I think watching it, letting it flow over you is the filmmaking. I can't not admire the filmmaking. I can't not admire the beautiful camera work, the cinematography. Like, I could watch this movie silent and admire it.
Well, we basically did.
I mean, no, it was we had it loud. We had it cranked.
Yeah, loud, but you can't hear.
You
can't hear the dialogue.
Yeah, this was a very interesting. I don't think I've ever experienced a movie like this before. I will say, if nothing else, it is a singular experience. Like I would not compare it to anything. I think, I think in a way that alone is worthy of celebration, because again, this is a singular vision. Now it might not work for you, but this is a film I think that definitely should be admired.
I'm going to disagree with you, because if it's unwatchable and people don't know what's going on and it's so loud you can't hear the dialogue.
It's not unwatchable.
I did not enjoy watching this film, and I don't think I would ever watch it again. And even though I love the idea of it, the premise is good. You just have to work out your rules and stick to them.
Well, and
again, like the evil guy, he wants to destroy the world because he's sick.
Well, the past.
So, no. I don't think I would watch this again. I did not enjoy it. It frustrated me from the start. because I couldn't hear the dialogue. That really angers me. I'm like, I don't see the point of watching a movie that I don't hear what's going on.
Give you some more vino, babe. Let me calm your nerves. Have a little wine, all right. Have another glass.
I know I'm upsetting some people, but I don't think I'm upsetting most people.
Well, no, look, this is why we come here. This show is called Whining About Movies. It doesn't always mean we just drink wine. It means we whine.
We actually whine.
We actually whine about movies. And I understand that, and I feel we didn't whine about Soul.
We did not whine about Soul.
We whined about Wonder Woman 84. I do find it interesting.
That was fun.
That
At least that was fun. It was goofy, and it was fun to talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but it's funny that both of these films came out of Warner Brothers, and I think that, sometimes when filmmakers, Christopher Nolan, no one questions him. He had a huge deal on this movie. I mean, a financially very lucrative deal. They basically gave him carte blanche to make what he wanted. And I think that
which is understandable. He's made great movies.
Oh, I mean, look, his last film before this was Dunkirk, and I love Dunkirk. Mm-hmm. And I thought that a movie about an event in World War II that Americans aren't necessarily as familiar with, and he basically made a World War II art film that I thought was beautiful.
Yeah. And
really enjoyed it. But this film, I was surprisingly, I have to say, I was really disappointed by it. But I was but I will say that my disappointment might be with me.
That you didn't get it right away?
That I wasn't.
Don't feel bad, because all the people out there who are saying they got it right away, they're lying. There is no way that everyone got what was going on first time watching. There's no way. I don't believe it. If you're saying that you understood this film...
Don't insult our audience, babe.
I'm not insulting them.
You're telling them they're...
I'm talking about the wide
You're calling them
world.
Dumb and liars.
No. Not our viewers. I don't think any of our viewers have said that.
You know what? You always look at the live chat. You should look into the camera and go, no, not our viewers.
Because I'm looking at the chat.
I know, but you shouldn't look at the chat. You should look at the camera.
Okay. I'm not insulting my viewers.
Speak into the camera.
I'm just saying. There's no way that you could watch this film one time and understand what's happening. I don't believe that.
Well, it's not that complex. It's just the way, I mean,
it's complex because it doesn't make any sense. The way it's told, it doesn't make sense. And the only reason we can understand what's going on is because we watched a bunch of other people explain it.
I wouldn't say that exactly. I mean, look, I love the idea of this premise, but it was needlessly obfuscated.
We are dumb. No, you're not.
See, people are going to say we're dumb.
No, they're saying they're dumb.
Well, okay. Before we piss off anyone else, we have letters about this movie.
I didn't mean to piss anybody off.
We have letters about this movie, and as you all know, would it surprise you to know that Omar94 writes in? We got some good letters. Omar94 says, "Hi, Rob and Elizabeth. I'm glad you finally got to see Tenet, Rob, after not being able to see it in theaters. I got a chance to see it in theaters back when it came out in early September. Though I tried, I just could not get into it, unfortunately. I wanted to, but it was just really confusing and hard to follow. It reminded me of the Howard Hawks movie The Big Sleep, and how I don't really know what it's even about. I also could not be invested in any of the characters since none of them are developed that much. I know a lot of people had issues with hearing the dialogue, but I did not have a problem with that. I remember being in theaters and found it fine, but I did think the film was loud overall. I saw it in standard and thought it was loud. If I saw it in a Dolby theater, who knows? Who knows what would happen since my hearing is not the best. Kenneth Branagh, who I do think is a good actor, was a very weak villain, as I found him to be just another generic Russian villain. That said, while there are problems with the film, I was able to find some positives. I did like the performances from John David Washington and Robert Pattinson, as did I. All of the action scenes are pretty good and very creative, and the cinematography was great, which made the film visually nice to look at. I agree with all those things, Omar. Regardless of whether I like the film or not, going to see Tenet in a movie theater will forever be an important moment in my life, my movie watching life, maybe my life period, since it was the first film I saw in theaters after the pandemic closed everything. The last time I went to theaters before then was in December 2019, when Rise of Skywalker came out. I know there were movies after Rise of Skywalker people saw in theaters, like Bad Boys 3, Birds of Prey, and Sonic, but those films did not really interest me a whole lot. Originally, A Quiet Place 2 was going to be the first movie of 2020 I would see in theaters, but the lockdown happened, so because of that, I will always think of seeing Tenet as an important part of my movie-watching life, or maybe my life period. Thanks, and live long and prosper. Well, what a great letter, Omar.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I'm glad that it became meaningful for you, despite not understanding what was going on.
Yeah. And our next letter is from our old friend, Black Philip Alvarez. Greetings, Rob, Elizabeth, and my fellow Post-Geek Singularity community. Back once again with another letter, this time on Tenet. Great choice, since I was definitely curious to hear Rob's and Liz's too take on such a current release. I had thought long and hard about wanting to send in a letter. I would have now seen it 3 times, but what could the subject matter be about? Criticisms of the movie? The so-called dialogue issues, the audio and score issues? Are people not intelligent enough to understand the film? The last one seems a more appropriate letter for observations than for whining. I also didn't want to come off too critical or condescending, and that's just not my style. What I ended up deciding to write about is what my letter to whining have always been known for, my own personal experience with the movie featured in each episode. First off, I sympathize with Rob and anyone who didn't get to experience Tenet during its brief theatrical run, as it fully deserves to be seen. I had the privilege of seeing the film in glorious IMAX over the Labor Day weekend. This, to me, was the best way to watch the film. I agree. I wish I had seen it that way. The picture was clear and the sound was amazing, as you would expect for any IMAX presentation. You can definitely see how much effort Nolan put into making this film. It's definitely his most ambitious film. I fully understood why Nolan insisted on Tenet getting a theatrical release regardless of the pandemic. I left the theater very satisfied getting to watch the film as Nolan intended it to be seen. I only wish more people would have been able to see it. Now, what are my own personal thoughts about the film? Well, first off, I won't be spoiling the movie too much. My first thought is how Tenet is really an impossible movie to spoil. You'd have to understand the film first, right? Did I understand the film? Yes, I did. I felt Interstellar was more difficult to understand than this one. Does it need multiple viewings to be understood? Well, that's a personal preference. Did I feel it had audio and dialogue issues? Absolutely not. Even at home, I was able to hear everything fine. I don't even have a state-of-the-art system, just a small Bose soundbar, which has the ability to push dialogue up more, so maybe that helped a little. I'd even argue that the dialogue issues are a crucial plot point meant to be inaudible, but I won't say why, as that would be a spoiler, or should I? Well, it's because of some of it is backwards or in reverse. Is that really a spoiler, though? If there's one criticism I have about the film, it's the performance of Kenneth Branagh as the villain. I can see why some say this is the closest we'll get to a Nolan Bond film. The villain is very over the top, and Branagh definitely hams it up quite a bit. I felt like he was in a different film, and it didn't fit the tone of the movie. His motive is indeed very much like a villain in almost every Bond film. The only difference is his demise comes from someone who deserved justification. The other performances in the film were much better. Robert Pattinson is good, and kind of the comic relief in a complex story. John David Washington is great as the protagonist, and yes, that's actually what he refers to himself. Is that a spoiler? Even his action scenes are done well, and the man has a bright future in movies, just like his father Denzel. He was great in A Black Klansman. That's one thing I forgot to mention, was the action sequences that are very well done. While in the past I felt Nolan films have had weak action scenes, the freeway scene here definitely comes to mind, and sorry spoilers, you get to see it from 2 different perspectives. That also pretty much describes the majority of the film in a nutshell. In conclusion, I would rank Tenet as right in the middle of Nolan's filmography. It's not his best, but far from his worst. The movie is very hard to describe, much less writing a letter about it. I don't feel that's a bad thing either. I was very entertained by it and would encourage people to at least give it a chance. I definitely appreciate the show covering the film, and I'm curious to see what the chat room says about Tenet. I know I'll have a lot to say about it, that's for sure, but I'll be lenient. So thanks again, Rob and Elizabeth, for reading my letter. Take care, be safe, and happy holidays. Well, Black Philip Alvarez, thank you very much for that. I did enjoy that letter.
Yes.
And I appreciate you writing in. I appreciate your thoughtful commentary. And we have one more. Mike F. Hi, Rob and Elizabeth. Great review on Soul, and it's great that you're finally going to do Tenet, even though some people in the future have already seen it. Also, I actually just watched your episode when you discussed The Sound of Music, which is episode 9, because I realized that I haven't seen it, and I must say, Rob, that I love your enthusiastic review there as a first-time viewer of a well-beloved musical.
That was episode 9?
That was episode 9.
Oh, my God. Wow.
This is episode 108. Sound of Music was 99 episodes ago. 99 movies, 99 Blu-rays of movies on the wall, 99 Blu-rays of movies. I took one down, I passed it around. The Sound of Music, which is episode 9, because I realized that I haven't seen it. And I must say, Rob, that I love your enthusiastic review here as a first-time viewer of a well-beloved musical that has been popular for decades. Anyways, speaking of nuns, I want to recommend Sister Act. I mean, Whoopi Goldberg stars in it, Maggie Smith is Mother Superior, and Harvey Keitel is also there. It's a feel-good movie, and I'm glad that Disney is working on a third movie. Or maybe you should do Mamma Mia, a feel-good jukebox musical with Meryl Streep singing ABBA's greatest hits. Is Mamma Mia cinema? No. It is, come on. But it does make you dance, jive, and have the time of your life? Definitely.
I have to tell you, that is my guilty pleasure movie.
Or maybe you can do, well, there you go. Or maybe you can do the sequel, Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, which is basically like The Godfather Part 2. Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. Since I'm the self-appointed guardian of Filipino cinema, I'm also going to recommend a Filipino film. You can do Manila in the Claws of Light, which I already discussed on the Letter and Observations. I will, maybe. Or if you want a more lighter Filipino film, I recommend That Thing Called Destiny, 2014, directed by Antoinette Hadani, which is considered as one of the best Filipino romantic films because of how character-driven it is and how it didn't go to the usual cliche of the genre. You can watch it on Netflix. Or if you want a Filipino horror film, I recommend The Wedding Curse, directed by Chito S. Ronyo, which is based on a Filipino superstition in which one should not get married within the same year as an immediate relative dies or marries. It's considered as one of the best Filipino horror films of all time, and you can watch it on Netflix as well. Anyway, I hope that you two are having a great night. Thank you, and stay safe, and keep up with all the whining. Well, thank you for that, Mike. And now let's see. I can't wait to see what people are. How are we going to get raked over the coals for this review or non-review? Where are we at now? Oh boy. Wow. There's people. There's a lot of people have written in a lot here. Where are we at? Yeah. Okay. Now everyone's going to make me read backwards. Tenet was very confusing and brought this and Nolan's worst film. Okay. Nolan should have had his I can't read this.
I can't. It's so small. I can't even see.
Now it's going away. Should have had his CRIM. I don't know. Jason, I can't read this. I'm too old to read backwards, but I think it's funny. Julius Goodwin is here. Julius, how are you? We enjoy. We still haven't. There's still one of his bottles of in the closet.
What closet?
Your closet, that Julius.
There is?
Yeah.
The Pinchy one?
Yeah.
Pinchy?
Yeah, there's one of Julius's Pinchies that he sent us. We haven't drank it.
Are you sure?
I am sure.
I remember drinking it.
No.
Ooh, what a treat.
Yeah, thank you, Julius. Our sommelier, the official sommelier of the...
I'm so excited.
Julius says, not sure if you got my message on the 1st, but just wanted to wish you a happy new year.
Oh, thank
also,
you.
wish us luck in Georgia on the runoffs. We're kind of going to need a miracle to win 2 Democratic seats in a viciously red state. Well, Julius, I don't know. I think, wow, I've never seen such political unrest in the United States. What a crazy day you're having there in Georgia the last couple days. Craziest. But thank you very much for the wine and for everything that you do and for being the official sommelier of the channel. Claudius, the protagonist, sends in a tip. Claudius, we got our official sommelier and one half of our official couple.
I feel.
By the way, you got some. I have
schmutz.
You have schmutz on your face. There you go.
I feel. I'm gonna predict that he likes this movie.
Oh, he loves this movie.
Oh, well, there you go.
Bonjour, mon ami. Bon année. In my humble opinion, I think the ace is correct about the sound mix. I experienced the same in IMAX. But at home, using iTunes and a HomePod speaker, the sound was much better. Oh, there you go. We used a soundbar, and it was very loud. Atmos soundbar, and it was rocking the room, which I loved. Swack Prop says, to quote Honest Trailers, a woman so tall she could drive a car from the back seat with her legs.
Yes, that's right. When she's in the car in the back seat, why didn't she just reach her leg and stop the car? She could have.
I don't know what to say.
That's a good point.
Professor X Parrot is here with a super chat. Thank you very much for supporting the channel like that. Hi, Rob and Liz. Love y'all. I do feel the movie needed better sound balance, and Nolan went a bit too far, but I do feel the end tied the story up nicely. I would agree with that. The end. Maybe after the criticisms, I was paying attention too hard, but I did enjoy it. I mean, it did have a satisfying ending, I guess.
Yeah, but by the time you get to the end, you're like, I don't care. I wasn't really even paying attention at the end.
Well, because I think you're not even really, aside from, we're going to stop the end of the world, but it's a nebulous end of the world. It's like, how is the world going to end? Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand in a Bond film, like Carl Stromberg is building his undersea kingdom, and he's going to start World War III by having the Russians and the Americans fire nuclear missiles at each other, and then they start World War III. I get that.
Right. Right.
Ross Gecko is here. Rob, both things can be true. Tenet sucks, and Nolan is a great filmmaker. You can say it. Well, look, my Schnäppchen proves I love Nolan as a filmmaker.
Oh, he's a great filmmaker, but I mean, I guess you can't always like bat it, you know, what is the saying? What's the high number? Whatever. I guess you can't always make something great.
Claudius, the antagonist, said, needless to say, I love this movie. Told you. In my humble opinion, Nolan doesn't make anything without underlying logic. Notes, Spencer figured out the ending early on. Hashtag Gen Z. Candida immediately guessed that the woman jumping from the yacht was Elysabeth to Becky's cat. Well, who else would it be? You know, it's not going to be the doctor. So, but I can understand.
I guess, like, was so frustrated at the beginning that I really didn't even care or pay that much attention.
Well, look, to me, there's a Spanish time travel movie that I love that has a lot in common with this movie called Time Crimes. And it basically, Time Crimes starts out with a dude hanging out in his backyard, and he sees somebody in the woods in a mask watching him, and it goes from there. And when I watch this, I'm like, Christopher Nolan saw Time Crimes. And he's like, what if I combine Time Crimes with my ultimate James Bond movie? And I felt like Time Crimes cost 6 cents compared to this movie. And I loved Time Crimes. Time Crimes is one of my favorite time travel movies, even though you don't quite know it that at the beginning. But, I mean, I understand that. I can understand people that really like this movie. You know, Claude knows his stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would believe that Claude watched this once and understood.
Yeah.
But most people know.
Scarpad's Comic Trek sends in a super chat and says, I love the ideas behind Tenet and the look, but I think they had the agenda to structure it as confusing as possible. I think Looper did it better. I would agree. I mean, I think that this movie, he actually set out to be as murky as possible.
Yeah.
I really do. I do believe that. Dieter Bastian is here. My friend Dieter, my favorite German from Saarbrücken, Deutschland. Dieter says, Don't try and understand it. Feel it. Well, I guess the tip didn't really get through to most of the audience because you didn't feel anything also. Well, it's true.
That's right. There's no feeling either.
By the way, I think it's time to announce we're watching The Seven Faces of Dr. Lao for tomorrow.
Yes.
But I think I should announce what our Thursday or Friday movie is going to be.
Yes, what it's going to be.
Well, it's a movie you haven't seen.
You didn't even tell me. What is it?
It's right here. Wait. The movie that Elysabeth is going to see for the very first time that we're all going to be watching is a gift from Saarbrücken, Deutschland. The 4K disc of Showgirls! Paul Verhoeven Showgirls. We're going to watch Showgirls, ladies and gentlemen.
But here's the question. Was it a Schnäppchen?
I don't think this was a Schnäppchen because it's not a Schnäppchen because it's it's 4K. It's brand new. It's a media book. It's not. I think it's. But you know what? This movie is a bargain at any price. So truly, it is a Schnäppchen, depending on how you want to look at it. The Echo-based network is here. Hail the Burnettwork. Always love seeing you and your daughter do shows together.
I love you.
That's one way to butter her up. You see Mark Hamill tweet one of our videos out. Super cool. I did not. I think that's amazing. Congratulations. Echo-based network made a really interesting documentary about, well, Star Wars, and you should all watch it. Eric Gant is here. Eric Gant says, good evening, Elysabeth and Rob. Tenet sounds like a hot mess, but I'm enjoying your review of it. Keep up the great work. By the way, Snow Crash is outstanding. A must-read for all cyberpunk fans and the Post-Geek Singularity. Long live the Deliberator. Look, anyone if you want to read a science fiction novel, I don't think I've ever read a more entertaining book that's also very interesting philosophically. That book, the concept of a language virus, I actually experienced that when I started to learn nonlinear editing. When I first learned the Avid back in 94, 95, how to edit the whole way I was approaching film editing changed, and I kept thinking about Snow Crash. If you haven't read Snow Crash, it's one of the great science fiction books of all time. BL Alley says, so when you drive a car while inverted, is your ass sucking the farts out of the seat? It's a very good question, BL. I
would say yes.
I don't know what to say to that. Well, Elysabeth says yes. Do you fart?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Of course I don't.
Simon Gilmore says Nolan is trying something with audio in his films, and he just needs to stop because it's not working. And he's just ticking off viewers and even his own colleagues in the filmmaking business. Just stop. Well, I will say he's trying to do something innovative. And I don't...
Yeah, but if you're pissing off the people who are watching your films, come on, man.
It's true.
Come on.
Well, come on, man. Come on, Christopher. Well, what are you going to do? Timbula the Spider Monkey. Tim's here. I'm glad I saw this in the theater because the visuals were the only thing I thoroughly enjoyed. I'd say overall I kind of liked it, but it's pretty low on my Nolan list. I'm not sure if I'll even get it on Blu-ray, and that's saying something. The Blu-ray does come with, the 4K comes with a whole extra bonus disc, and which I haven't really delved into. But, I think the one thing about Nolan's movies are, whether you like them or you don't, technically they're definitely worth getting. You're really getting something that I think it has value, even if you don't necessarily like it. And maybe I'll like it more. I found...
That's a good point.
What?
Why didn't the tall lady have to wear a mask when she went back to kill her husband?
Because she was so tall, she had enough oxygen in her that...
That is such a good point. See, there's so many holes in this film.
Sebastian Sanhueza sent in a super chat and said, hi, Liz and Rob. Happy 2021. I agree with Liz on this movie. Perhaps you could reach the following middle ground. It can be enjoyed, but not admired.
I would say the opposite. It can be admired, but not enjoyed.
Either way, I think both are true. All you have to do is, dare I say it, Sebastian, you could take what you said, it can be enjoyed, but not admired, and invert it. Simon Gilmore sends in a tip and says, I watched Tenet on my home theater and I had to turn the sub down much lower than normal. And that helped with being able to hear the dialogue better, but it still doesn't make it enjoyable to watch when music and effects are cranked to 11 when dialogue is a 2. I am with you, Simon. To me, that is just not great. I hate to say it, but not great filmmaking. Because here's the thing. There's no music and effects in the real world. So
Right.
when you're watching a movie and you're cranking up the music and effects but not allowing the dialogue to be heard, I understand that is a stylistic choice. You are choosing to do that for your audience. And my whole thing is really, I mean, if you're trying to create an experience, is really music and effects. I don't
Why
know.
would you choose to frustrate your viewers? Why would you do that?
Well,
Why would you choose to frustrate the people who are going to comment on your work?
I don't know. But it's a good point. Tom Jr. Jackson sends in a tip and says, did this movie piss Ace off? I don't think she's given her her expletive opinion. This is an interesting side of Ace. I want to see her tell this to Nolan and just watch his inverted reaction. I so love this show.
Well, this and Crash.
Oh yeah, you loved Ted Cronenberg's Crash.
I think I went off on that one.
You did. You did. Andrew Christie says, I can't tell if Elysabeth likes this movie or not. Cheers. I'm drinking a red blend called The Arsonist tonight. Oh, I've seen The Arsonist. I hope it's good. I hope it's good, Andrew. Ecthomason. Is it Ecthomason? Did I get great discussion? Here's some bread to go with that wine.
Well, thank you.
Cheers to that for the bread. Cheers to all of you, by the way. Thanks for supporting the channel. Claudius the Antagonist, once again, hashtag inverted ordnance. The inverted ordnance is actually within the stone. You need to use the weapons to catch the bullets. The action will not start until the weapon is pointed at the object. The inversion is encapsulated between the stone and the weapon. Now, I get that. I understand that, but again, what about my 6 bullets theory? How does that going to work? Claudius goes on to say, Mon ami, I agree the movie was difficult, too clever, and I was confused. But by the end, I realized that Robert Pattinson's Neil was going to his death in order to unlock the door. On first viewing, I caught the backpack chain. Well, yeah, because he's got that backpack chain from the beginning of the movie. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. Swack Cal is here. He says, you know when you just wake up from a dream and you try and note down what it was and it comes out as a disjointed and incoherent sequence of events? That's what Tenet felt like. It probably does make sense, but only in Nolan's head.
Yes.
His head. That could very well be. Julius is back again. He says, I couldn't quite wrap my mind around Tenet. I think Nolan might have gone a little too deep down the rabbit hole on this one. Also, out of 3 bottles of, what is it? Pinchy wine and 2 bottles of FU 2020, only 1 bottle left. Did she at least taste? Oh, yeah, you got the Pinchy. We had Pinchy. You did. And there's more Pinchy than you even know.
Where is it?
Well, I'll show you after the show.
Did you drink it?
No.
You
No, I
didn't
did
drink
not.
it?
No, I did not.
That's some really good wine.
I know you love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I got to taste some.
Yeah.
I would like to have a whole bottle to myself, though. At some
You have a
point.
whole bottle. That's why I put it in your closet. I literally put a bottle in our closet.
Sometimes I hide the wine in my closet.
Because I'm not the only one that drinks it. Other people in the house drink it.
Well,
They do.
I don't know who drinks my wine, but I have to hide it sometimes.
Ross Gecko says, Tenet is Nolan combining time crimes and primer. That's exact, Ross, that is exact, with James Bond. But that is exactly what he's doing. It's primer and time crimes. As a matter of fact, I would say primer and time crimes are a great, if you like Tenet or found Tenet interesting, but you didn't maybe love it, Time Crimes and Primer are 2 of my favorite time travel movies ever. And they both were they were made on the cheap. Claudius, the mansplainer, comes back and says, Elizabeth. Oh, there's. You're gonna. Can you read this? Elizabeth, Je
pense que I can't see.
Le Gin Adira.
Gin Adira. Pardon le
Here, wait,
rewatch.
Look. I can make this bigger.
Yeah, that would help.
Let's see. Now it goes off the frame.
Where is it? Now I lost it.
Right here.
Oh, je pense que le Gin Adira. Pardon le rewatch.
For me, watching a Nolan film is like playing a game of Clue. I enjoy the puzzle and the deception. Tenet actually reminds me of David Mamet's The Spanish Prisoner. I love The Spanish Prisoner. I have The Spanish Prisoner on Blu-ray. I think it's great. But I can see that. I agree with you, Claude. I totally agree with that. Black Philip Alvarez said, I thought Rob would tear this film a new one, honestly. 3 AKFN for me. What is that?
You should move it up because...
oops. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Black Philip Alvarez. I thought Rob would tear this one a new one, honestly. 3... What is... Oh.
But I did. That's not good enough, Black Philip.
Ever thought about doing 12 Monkeys for a future episode? Whoa. I love 12 Monkeys.
We could totally do 12
That's
Monkeys.
a great movie. Angry Trekkie's here. Angry Trekkie says, I thought Tenet was followable as a viewer. Yes, the sounds in the muted scenes did not make sense. Some of them did, though. I mean, you can't hear it backwards or whatever. Tom Jr. Jackson says, oh, just one more thing, Robin Ace. I was trying to find you both 11,780 more likes on this episode. You don't think I'm too desperate at the last moment? All hail Robin the Ace and the PGS and its mods. That's very funny. What is AF? What am I missing, Black Phillip? What is AKFN? I know that's something for now.
Where?
3 AKFN for me. I don't know what that means.
Oh man.
3.
I don't know.
What am I missing? Is that something I should know?
I never know that stuff.
Here, wait a minute. I'm gonna find out. AKFN. Oh, oops.
Wait.
Hang on.
What about the 3? Oh.
I just want to know what AKFN means. It's some acronym, you know.
Yeah.
AKFN. Nope. It's a studio. I don't know what that is. Oh, well. I looked it up. You'll have to tell me what that means, man. Echo Base Network says, I'm drinking a brown called Jack Daniels. Cheers and Happy New Year to you and your daughter.
You are older than me.
Angry Trekkie says, true, but remember that Tenet is not James Bond at the same time. No, but I think, Nolan loves James Bond. African Kung Fu Nazis. Oh. Yes. Okay. For those,
is that your favorite movie, Philip?
Well, Black Phillip has a copy of African Kung Fu Nazis. Dieter Bastian made sure of that. The filmmakers of African Kung Fu Nazis now are crossing over into a Let's Get Physical Media thing, but African Kung Fu Nazis is a singular vision that was a little bit easier to understand. Well, I haven't seen it.
Could I have a little more wine?
I hope. Yeah, you want to end of this bottle.
This is yummy. I love the floral.
There you go, babe. African Kung Fu Nazis. How did I not know that? Claudius the Antagonist said, Mon ami, I suggested that Tenet is better with a glass of gin. I do love the difference between Brooks Brothers and how a billionaire dresses. I loved that.
Yeah,
I love that.
That was good.
That was good. That was really, really good. You can't... I mean... any movie that makes a point of couture or Savile Row suits, I love that.
Yeah.
And of course, the best being in Die Hard, when Mr. Takagi is wearing a John Phillips London. There's a whole exchange. Nice suit.
Yeah, we
John
already did
Phillips
that movie,
London.
Remember?
I know we did that movie. It's the greatest thing ever. Well, listen, we're way over time on this movie.
Well, surprise, surprise.
We are way over time, and. But I think, a successful, I thought, Eric Thorpe says, I don't believe she was inverted when she killed her husband. She went out of being inverted once she was in the past. I believe that's how it works. That could very well be, too. I don't know.
I don't know. I have to think
Eric
about
could
that.
be right.
So she went. Wait. So she was, but she was there twice. So one of them was inverted. Because she was on the boat with her son, and then she was on the yacht with her husband. Because she witnesses herself jump off the boat.
Yeah, but what about when she kills her husband?
Yeah, which one's inverted then? The one that kills her husband.
I mean, she would have to be, right?
Yeah, because you can't be there twice.
Well,
and
no,
one of you not be inverted.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You if you were inverted and then go through the thing, what's it called? The two.
Oh, so she went through that contraption.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, see?
I see. That would make sense.
I think Eric's correct.
Yeah.
Eric is correct.
I think so.
So, okay, so we're doing Showgirls on Thursday.
But before that, we're doing
for Cardinal Sin.
For Gil.
For Gil, we're doing The Seven Faces tomorrow. We're doing the classic film The Seven Faces of Dr. Lao.
He's been asking from almost the beginning of our show.
Since the pandemic was raging. So we are going to do that. It's available to stream on Amazon. You can watch it. It's actually a very good movie. I haven't seen this movie. I saw this movie once when I was a kid. I haven't seen this movie in ages.
Okay. So I'm looking forward to this.
Mm-hmm. So I guess.
So that'll be tomorrow.
That'll be tomorrow.
I don't even know what day today is. What
it's
day
Monday.
Is today? Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter. I mean, we're lockdowns are. Boris Johnson just locked down London or England again.
Yeah, all the days are blurring. Especially, I'm not in classes right now, so I don't even know what day it is from one day to the next.
Claudius the Antagonist says, "Congratulations to Rob for catching a lady 25 years younger than himself. Here's to punching above your weight from a guy who should know. Cheers to us." Cheers to us. Wow, did you rob the cradle too? Is Candida 25 years? I believe that. Well done, sir. Well done. Yeah, there you go, babe. 25 years younger than me. Don't tell your mom. So wait, we have to we come to it now. I have a problem. So we have our bottoms up scale.
We do.
We have our bottoms up scale of wine where we rate a film why do we call it the bottoms up scale?
It's the bottom up scale because it's from 1 to 4 glasses because there are 4 glasses of wine in a bottle.
Yes. Now, I have a problem. This movie is so ambitious for what it is, and it's so elegantly made that I feel that like I would want to give this movie, for me personally, like 2 glasses of wine, but I don't feel that does it justice. It's not fair. And yet that flies in the face of everything I always say when I review things.
Yeah, okay, I get that he put everything into this movie and he works really hard, but when you're making something that is so beyond your viewer, where it's all in your head, it makes sense in your head, but not to anyone else, like, is that even fair to the viewer?
I think what's fair is that he got Warner Brothers to give him $200 million to make this movie.
Of course they did. Look at all the great movies he's made.
And I have to say that I admire authorship, and I think Christopher Nolan.
How did this film do? I know.
Well, it was released in the pandemic. It's made close to $400 million.
And he made it for how much?
Like $200 million. So it's not hugely profitable.
For a pandemic film.
Well, yeah. I mean, if this movie came
impressive.
out. I think if this movie came out, it would have made close to $1 billion. If you look at what it made during a pandemic, with 60% of theaters closed, I think this movie would have made, and I think people would have been going back again and again and again.
You'd have to watch it several times.
I will say this about this movie. I believe this movie is going to endure the test of time because it's a film that people will watch over and over and puzzle over it and talk about it. And it's a movie that while right now we can argue about it, but I do think it's going to be a movie that resonates for a while with people. Do you not buy that?
I just, you know what, as a viewer, I feel betrayed that my feelings weren't taken into account. I feel like he made this movie.
Wow, what a snowflake you are.
I feel like... Right?
Wow.
No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is...
My feelings weren't taken into account.
I mean my feelings as in the viewers. All the viewers. I feel like he made this movie to show off. And for that reason, even though it was a lot of work, and he did a great job with making it, he was trying to show off how smart he is. Yeah, and it did not work because it was all in his head. And then therefore, I feel justified in rating it. What am I going to rate it?
Oh, I don't know. I was waiting for some amazing conclusion to that diatribe.
I'm going to rate it 2 glasses.
2 glasses. See, I can't. I got to give it at least 3. And I think that there's maybe in some future time, maybe in the future, that maybe this film will be looked back upon and be revered. I don't know. My enjoyment for it was probably a 2. My admiration for it bumps it up to a 3. But I do feel confused about this because I can tell, I understand the ambition and what went into it.
No, I don't think he's a pretentious asshole. I didn't say that. I said for this film, he was way too much in his head. And maybe his head was up his ass a little bit. But
it's not necessarily a bad thing.
There are other films that he's made that I absolutely love.
Right. No, it's true. Me too. But I think, I have to ask myself, I always ask myself, ask not if the fault is in our stars, but in ourselves.
Okay, but when the majority are saying the same thing, I don't think so.
Well, all right.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to give it 1.5 glasses. But then he made me feel bad, so I gave it 2.
Tom Jr. Jackson says, how dare Nolan not inform Ace of this film's plot?
He's right? Seriously.
Not wrong. He should have called.
He should have called you. Come on, man. He's writing about movies. Why didn't he ask me?
Angry Trekkie sends in a super chat and says, Green Laser says 1 glass.
I mean, see, a lot of people don't like this film because it doesn't make sense.
Well, I think it does make sense. It's just...
There's so many holes.
Well, there's just so many questions.
And holes.
I don't know about holes. Questions.
There's a lot of holes.
Well...
And if at least this was fun, if there was, like, some funny moments, then it would make everything okay. But it wasn't even fun.
Well, don't be so dramatic.
It was very dramatic.
Well, no, when he says that.
Oh.
How big? Well, that's more dramatic. Well, anyway, I guess that brings us to the end of our journey.
I feel bad now.
I know.
You made me feel bad for saying what I said.
I don't know. You should never feel bad. Own your opinion.
I feel bad. Like, he worked really hard on this film. But then again, like, he's made really great films, so...
I think Christopher Nolan's bank account...
It's not hurting.
It's not hurting. And at the end of the day, what we have to say about his movie really doesn't amount to a hill of beans in this world. So I don't think he minds. Just saying. So hey, we've got the 7 Faces of Dr. Lau and Paul Verhoeven's Showgirls. First time seeing Showgirls right here.
I'm a little worried, but
can you believe it? First time seeing Showgirls. Farky50 sends in a super chat and says, how soon does his next movie come out? I don't know. I don't know what Christopher Nolan's next movie it probably already did come out. We just don't know it yet. I don't know, to be honest. I'm not totally sure. I do not know. But anyway, we're at the end of this episode 108 of Whining About Movies.
108.
108. It's going to be interesting to see when we're going to catch up to ourselves after a year. like I think in March. Can you believe it? We're going to celebrate our 1-year anniversary of whining about movies.
Wow.
Crazy.
That is crazy.
So, yeah. And there we go. So, Seven Faces of Dr. Lau tomorrow and Showgirls. Paul Verhoeven's Showgirls. So, why don't you take us out? First of all, wait. Let me say thank you to our moderating staff. We have Justin Toners here. The Richard is here. Robert Pariso is here.
Joshua Levesque.
Joshua Levesque. Is Joshua here?
Yeah.
Is he? Joshua Levesque is here. I want to thank you guys for being the... Oh, Joshua is here. Thanks for being the great moderating staff that you are. There's, of course, Mike Bawden. And I want to tell everybody, there are now, I guess, 4 Facebook pages for the Burnettwork. There is the Whining About Movies Facebook page, the Post-Geek Singularity Facebook page, the Fully Articulated Facebook page, and the, of course, what's it called? Let's Get Physical Media page for the B&B Motel, as Dieter would say. So you can always go there and find our great moderators. The Richard's always having watch parties. I guess he said that he will be watching The Seven Faces of Dr. Lau as a watch party. Very exciting, on Amazon. And, you know, Elysabeth and I were thinking about doing something new. I found out that on Twitch, you can connect to movies on Amazon. And we were thinking about doing obscure or exploitation titles, maybe as a fun, we'd call it Whining About Movies Presents Date Night with Rob and Elysabeth, where we would do a live stream and watch movies and watch them along with you and comment. I think that might be fun.
That'd be so fun.
So Whining About Movies Presents Date Night with Rob and Elizabeth. And that's something that we're going to start probably in a week from this weekend.
Cool.
I got to figure out Twitch. I opened a Twitch account. I've never used Twitch. I got to figure out how that works, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sure
we'll get it done. Technology is our friend. So on that note, why don't you take us out?
Everyone you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear, and all you have to do is listen.
And with that, maybe if I stop the stream, you can still watch us, like what happened today. I tried to stop the stream.
Yeah,
and
I
kept
called
going.
you, and you were like, "Oh fuck."
And then Mike
yes, ma'am.
And the mic was called.
I was like, "Whoa."
Anyway, maybe the stream will turn off. Maybe it won't. But anyway, thanks very much, everybody. Thanks for your support. Thanks for the letters. You can always write us letters at the Burnettwork.net website. And send us letters. We love letters.
We love letters.
And on that note, have a better knife.
Have a
butter knife. Have a better knife. Have a nutter butter.
Have a sharper knife.
Have a sharper knife.